From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. A sightseeing plane carrying a pilot and 8 cruise ship passengers crashed into a cliff in southeast Alaska Thursday, killing everyone on board.
Recovery of the bodies was being hampered by weather. Officials say the NTSB say the de Havilland Otter airplane crashed in an area of steep mountainous terrain about 25 miles northeast of Ketchikan. Weather conditions in the area were reported as heavily overcast with wind gusts of up to 30 miles per hour. The plane, operated by Promec Air, was running a shore excursion for 8 passengers from a Holland American cruise line ship, the MS Westerdam, which left Seattle June 30th for a 7-day round-trip cruise.
The specifics right now, I understand low ceilings, rain, and some high winds. So obviously we're going to have to play the weather by ear.
Fairbanks police say 3 people were injured early this morning after shots were fired inside a local bar. According to investigators, an unidentified man entered Club Manchu near 28th and Cushman and pulled a gun on another man. Now, the intended victim pulled a gun himself and shot the would-be attacker. The man who entered the bar and brandished a gun was hit 3 times. The bartender of Club Manchu was also injured while she attempted to get out of the way of the shots being fired. She was treated and released from Fairbanks Memorial Hospital. A 3rd man was injured in the shooting and medevaced to Anchorage, but police say he was saved by a piece of jewelry that a bullet fragment apparently ricocheted off of.
The amazing thing about that additional injury was that it struck the gentleman in the chest and it hit a crucifix that he was wearing on a chain around his neck, which actually caused the bullet to break into half, and the 2 pieces went into his chest, but it certainly deflected the majority of the energy that would have been coming from that bullet. We don't release names until we press charges against a suspect.
Now, this is the 3rd reported shooting at a local bar in the last month. Police say charges have not yet been filed and they are still investigating the shooting. Anyone with information about this incident should contact Detective Scott Adams at 459-6552.
The number of active forest fires across the state continues to rise. 28 new blazes are now burning, which brings the total fire count to 317. More than 400 firefighters are working to contain the high-priority Rex Complex fire. They've had some success securing it, but are still working to stop the blaze where access is limited in the northeast. The Sockeye fire near Willow is 96% contained, according to the Interagency Coordination Center. The West Fork fire, a new smaller blaze, has been identified near the almost 1,400-acre Anaconda Creek fire, about 5 miles north of milepost 50 on Chena Hot Springs Road. Trails on the north side of the roadway near the fire remain closed until the danger diminishes. Fire Information Officer at the Alaska Interagency Coordination Center, Elaine Briggs, says rainy weather will help suppress fires throughout the interior, but will not extinguish them.
I want to emphasize that whatever rain that we got yesterday and will continue to get in the next couple of days will not put these fires out. It'll moderate the fire. It'll moderate the fire behavior. It'll give the crews a chance to get a lot of work done, but it is not going to put the fires out. And the weather is expected to heat up midweek next week.
Well, do not assume that since you woke up to rain this morning that the near statewide burn ban is lifted, because it remains in place for the foreseeable future. Wildfires continue to burn across the 49th state, and the Alaska Department of Natural Resources has no plans to lift the ban. The state closure pertains to all open burning, including campfires, burn barrels, debris burning, and charcoal grills. Forestry officials say it would take around 2 weeks of rain for areas to become saturated enough to lift the ban. Now, if you want to grill, only gas-fired devices are allowed. If you plan to head out camping, you can use a gas-fired backpack stove. However, forestry officials ask that you use extreme caution with such devices.
Gas stoves, gas grills are approved. They could potentially still start a fire, so you need to make sure you're in a safe location. Don't be using them directly on the moss, directly within the woods with trees and stuff over you. You know, be aware of what's over it and around it so you're not starting a fire.
All right, when we come back, last night the Borough Assembly passed an ordinance that will make it easier for voters in the future to make their choices.
Also in our gardening tips segment tonight, we'll continue to give you ideas on how to prepare your lawn for the remainder of the summer. Stay with us.
Welcome back. After a hearing in Superior Court yesterday, the man accused of fatally shooting a man who appeared on a reality show was granted bail in the amount of $200,000. Major Workman is in jail, charged with the first-degree murder of Fairbanks man Jimmy Gatos. Revealed in court documents were details that led up to the shooting of the reality personality at his home in Fox. Now, according to prosecution, Gatos pepper sprayed a dog belonging to Workman. Workman later shot him to death outside of his residence. In order to be released on bail, Workman will have to pay $200,000 and will have to be monitored by a GPS ankle monitor. Trial for his case is currently scheduled for this August.
The U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that all 50 states must license and recognize same-sex marriages. That means that same-sex marriages will remain legal in Alaska despite the 1998 constitutional amendment that defines marriage in Alaska as between one man and one woman. Representative Andy Josephson of Anchorage wants to have voters decide whether or not to remove that language from the state constitution. Representative Jaren Tarr of Anchorage said she supports the ruling because our country must have policies that provide the opportunity for every person to fulfill their constitutional right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not everyone was happy with the court ruling.
Well, we think it was an absolute usurpation of power. We think that no matter what happened with in the U.S. Supreme Court, it's impossible to alter a transcendent truth, which is natural marriage. At the same time, we look forward to creating lots of dialogue culturally in this state in terms of, defining what marriage really is and why natural marriage is so imperative to a society.
The Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly at its Thursday night meeting amended code regarding informational inserts for borough voter initiatives and referendums. Prior to last fall's municipal election, the Assembly adopted an ordinance to provide informational inserts in voter brochures. The inserts were also published in the Fairbanks Daily News Miner. However, there was confusion as to who was permitted to author pro and con positions for the inserts. Now, last night, the body added language to limit those who would be granted authorship to sponsors, APOC registered persons, or organizations with a publicly stated interest on the issue. Previous language granted authorship to any publicly recognized individual. The measure passed 6-1 with Lance Roberts voting no.
We're going to use that to support somebody's political objectives. And there are people who are neutral out there who may not care about a particular initiative, but their money is being used to support positions.
I don't believe that it's correct to characterize this as using public funds to advocate a partisan position. It's, in fact, intended to be exactly the opposite of that.
It's time once again for gardening tips. Last week, Steve Seefelt with the Cooperative Extension was going through the process of preparing your lawn. Tonight, we continue with Steve and the next steps.
Now, after you've got your soil all amended and ready to go, in this case, after I've added my compost, then I'll add the seed. And like I said, I know how much seed to add because I know the area. I'll spread it 2 different times. I'll put half of it out going back and forth, and then the other half I'll go 90 degrees different so that I get a good spread. And then with a rake, I'll gently work it in so that the soil covers the seed, and then I'll pack it a little bit. It's nice to have a roller, but you can make do with other things. You want it to get good seed soil contact. And then from there, you've got to water. As soon as I'm done, I'll be watering, and then when I come back from work at the end of the day, I'll water again, and in the morning, I'll water again. You want to do 2 or 3 times, especially when it's hot like this. You want to keep the area moist, and it's going to take the seeds a couple, 3 weeks to actually germinate and sprout, and the whole time you need to keep that area moist. If you've got good clean straw, you can put it on top, and that'll hold the moisture. Burlap sacks do a really good job. If you have a lot of burlap sacks, you can lay that down and it'll keep all that moisture from evaporating. After your seeds are up, then you want to change how you water. You might want to water only once or twice a week, but water real heavily so the water gets down deep, and then the roots of the grasses will chase that water and get bigger and stronger and better able to resist any kind of drying that might happen from time to time. Join us next week on Garden Tips, where we'll have Darcy Echeverry talk about controlling bird vetch, a particularly nasty invasive weed that we have here.
Gardening Tips, brought to you by Fairbanks Stump Grinders and by Midnight Sun Family Medicine.
All right, Joe Cook is up next with sports and has news on a local student athlete going on to college.
Also, Gold Panner highlights and a veteran racer retires. Those stories and more with Joe after the break.
Welcome back, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook here to get your weekend started right with the Friday Sportscast. The Alaska Gold Panners came into Thursday night's doubleheader against the Everett Monarchs with a 4-game win streak. Alaska had a 2-0 lead in the early going, and Joe Willis, he went to the 5th inning with a one-hitter, working great on the mound. But in the top of the 5th, the Monarchs found a groove. Ryan Sells, he broke up the one-hitter with a base knock. He went 2 for 3 with 3 ribbies for the Monarchs. He also got 3 hits and 3 RBIs in Game 1. The Monarchs get 4 runs in the 5th to gain the lead, and they generated 11 hits in the last 3 innings. Everett wins 6-3 in Game 2 and won by the same score in Game 1 for the doubleheader sweep, ending Alaska's 4-game win streak. The Panners will close out the 5-game series with Game 4 tonight and Game 5 Saturday at 7 o'clock. With a little over a month left in the NCAA signing period, interior athletes continue to move on to the next level. Last night, Michael Benson of Hutchinson High School signed a national letter of intent to play basketball for Waldorf College. The Waldorf Warriors are an NAIA program in Forest City, Iowa. They play in the Midlands Collegiate Athletic Conference. The Warriors finished 15-15, going 10-4, and in conference play, they made the playoffs. The young team will have 1 senior this upcoming season. Now, Benson led the Hutchinson Hawks with 15.5 points per game. He shot 42% from 3 and 77% at the free throw line. He also averaged 4 rebounds, 3 steals, and 2 assists per game. He was an All-Aurora Conference player as a junior and a senior. And due to the air quality in the interior, more events like racing at the North Pole Speedway were canceled for Thursday night, but the drivers still had something to look forward to. Racers and organizers at the North Pole Speedway honored Rod Harker, who was retiring from racing. Thursday night would have been his last race. The California native has been a veteran at the Speedway, competing in numerous seasons. Harker in the 00 car was the Legends Class runner-up last summer and was in the top 3 of the point standings this year before retiring. Local Legion baseball teams are competing in Anchorage this weekend, but Thursday night's games were a bit of a mixed bag. The Fairbanks 49ers single-A team split a doubleheader against Kenai. Kenai won the first game 8-1, but the 49ers bounced back with a 14-4 win in Game 2. And in the win, pitcher Jack Winkle struck out 8 and allowed 4 hits in a complete game. Travis Moore led Fairbanks, going 4 for 5 at the plate. The Alaska Wild AA team was blasted by Juneau. The final 22-0. Juneau's Nathan Klein tossed a 2-hitter with 9 strikeouts. The Wild will look to regroup against Eagle River tonight, while the Niners will take on Kodiak. And some of the top young basketball prospects found out where they will be playing this fall. Thursday night was the 2015 NBA draft. There were some obvious choices and a bit of intrigue and controversy along the way. As predicted, Kentucky's Karl Anthony Towns went first overall to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And the Lakers, they picked up star guard D'Angelo Russell out of Ohio State, the second overall pick, who many think could possibly be the heir apparent to Kobe Bryant. Philadelphia, they added another young big man to their team by taking Duke's Jahlil Okafor with the 3rd pick. The New York Knicks' 4th pick was booed. Kristaps Porzingis, an unknown but promising 7-footer with lots of skill from Barcelona, was the 4th overall pick. Not too many Knicks fans like that one. Another Spaniard, Mario Hezonja, a 6'8" wing player, was picked 5th overall by the Orlando Magic. Here's the rest of the top 10 NBA draft picks. At the 6th pick, Willie Cauley-Stein of Kentucky is headed to Sacramento. Emmanuel Mudiay, who played in China, was drafted by the Denver Nuggets at 7. Arizona's Stanley Johnson goes to Detroit at 8 overall. Frank the Tank Kaminsky was the 9th pick in the draft. The Wisconsin Badger was picked up by the Charlotte Hornets. Well, maybe the steal of the draft is Justice Winslow of Duke going to Miami at the 10th overall pick. And as mentioned earlier, the air quality and smoke has put a dent in local sporting events. The GFRA will have racing tonight at the Mitchell Raceway. This weekend's Chena Hot Springs Bike Classic, put on by the Fairbanks Cycle Club, has been canceled. but the Spruce Tree Classic is still on. That is a 7.2-mile run at the ski hut on the UAF West Ridge Trails. Starts Saturday morning at 10 a.m. The Gold Panthers, they wrap up their 5-game series against the Everett Monarchs with a 7 p.m. game on Saturday. Then they get back into ABL play as they host the Kenai Peninsula Oilers in Game 1 of their 5-game series on Sunday night at 7 p.m. at Groudon Memorial Park. And that'll do it for sports tonight. Mike Schultz is up next with your full weather forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back into a Friday night edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. Mike Schultz once again talking about weather. I was hoping the rain that came this morning would kind of swap out the smoke, but you know what? It just came back again this afternoon, and we're looking at more rain in the forecast, and maybe that'll scour things out, but we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Nice photograph, once again, William Blizzard sent this one in. A fire sunset, and you can see why. Look at the clouds in the background, the nice red colors from the smoke, and a very, very colorful shot. As always, if you have a photograph to share, send it to photos@ktvf11.com. We'll share it with the rest of the audience. Your numbers look like this: 79, the high today. The low last night, 51. The record high, 92. That was set in 2013. The record low, 38 in 1949. Actually, I think the high was right around 62. I think that's a computer mistake there. The sunrise this morning and sunset works out to about 21 hours and 46 minutes. That's a loss of 2 minutes from yesterday. On the satellite and radar, again, you can see a lot of moisture moving up off the Gulf of Alaska. That's all in association with this area of low pressure here, kind of cartwheeling all that moisture up, and that's what helped give us our showers today. More expected in this band coming in tomorrow. That'll be bringing more opportunities for heavier rain shower activity, and that will hopefully put more dampening the fires out a little bit. We keep our fingers crossed on that one. What else is going on across the rest of the state? Well, it is raining around the Juneau area and scattered showers at Ketchikan. Also showers in the Anchorage Bowl, 60 degrees there. Kodiak at 56, Cold Bay 50 degrees. And up and down the west coast, things aren't too bad. 63 degrees, a little cooler in Bethel today than it was yesterday. 46 at Nome, 40 at Barrow. And Fort Yukon checking in with 68 degrees, lots of sunshine there. Lower 48 weather, again, hot temperatures are the rule. Almost 90 degrees in Seattle today, warming up really good. Almost 100 degrees in Salt Lake City. Denver, not too bad, 81. Still very warm in Dallas, 95 there. Showers and thunderstorms. Of course, the 100 and teens around the Las Vegas area, a little bit cooler at Phoenix. Elsewhere, Minneapolis looking at partly cloudy skies, scattered showers along the Gulf Coast right over to Miami, and more showers around the New York area, only 80 degrees there, not too bad. On the satellite and radar, you can see things are clearing out across the midsection, but still a lot of showers and thunderstorms moving across from the west to the east, especially off the Gulf Coast. And out to the west, not too many clouds to be seen there. Not a whole lot going on when you have all those hot temperatures. That's because the high pressure is really building in. Now, it's just the opposite on the eastern side of the country. Low pressure is the big dominant feature here, so storms are really moving up and getting ready for more heavy rain across much of the northeast tomorrow. The overall jet stream, once again, hasn't moved a lot since yesterday. Again, high pressure really dominant underneath this jet stream here, which means a strong heat wave and more storms across the Great Lakes moving into the eastern half of the country. Well, back to Alaska for tomorrow. Well, here's what it looks like. In the northern sections, mostly cloudy skies at Barrow, not too bad. Partly cloudy at Nome, then a few scattered showers for Fort Yukon. Temperatures have cooled down quite a bit, though. You can see 69 degrees at Fort Yukon. And over the interior, we're looking at widespread showers to increase throughout the day tomorrow. Some of those could be heavy at times, helping put the fires out, we hope. And Fairbanks only looking at 62 for the high. Over southeast Alaska, rain for Juneau and just showers expected at Ketchikan. While over to the southwest, it looks like for the most part cloudy skies at Cold Bay, showers for Bethel and also at Kodiak. And down around the Anchorage Bowl, not too bad actually, partly cloudy skies at Anchorage, showers at Homer, but steady rain expected for Valdez. And once again, a reminder, we do have, once again, an air quality advisory in effect until Monday at 5 o'clock. Levels will continue to be unhealthy for Fairbanks and North Pole. Limit your outdoor activities, obviously, to prevent any kind of respiratory problems. So your forecast for the remainder of the night: dense smoke along with scattered showers, 56 degrees for the overnight low. Tomorrow's forecast, quite a bit cooler, 62 degrees, heavy showers into the evening, and not as smoky. That's some encouraging news. And the extended forecast calling for temperatures to start rising back once again by Monday and Tuesday. with showers again by Wednesday. The showers that we have over the weekend should be moving out of the picture by Monday. Lots of sunshine to return, and things will start drying out once again. And 50 degrees for the overnight low, almost all 4 or 5 days period.
Okay, thank you very much, Mike. That will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We're glad you could join us.
Well, tonight on NBC Nightly News, one of the escaped New York prisoners was shot and killed today by New York police. That's up next with Lester Holt.
You can join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a good night.
Good night.